Hey everyone, Ryan here. I've got a 2022 KTM 50SX that I'm going to show you how to do an oil change on. So we've got our 2022 50SX here, and we do an oil change after every ride. So every ride day, we go out and ride, gets back, we do an oil change, and typically a filter change as well. So air filter and oil change after every ride day. The thing about the 50s is with the clutch and the wear on them, that they just put a lot of particles into the oil, and it's just really good maintenance to do these oil change as much as possible on these bikes. You know, 2 strokes, there's a lot of wear in there, so it's just good to do oil changes as much as you can. So we're gonna show you how it's done. The only tools you're gonna need for this is a socket wrench with a 13mm, and the only replacement parts are going to be a crush washer and maybe an O-ring for the filler cap. I change those out every so often when I feel necessary. And the other thing, of course, you're gonna need is some oil. I run the MoterEx ATF. So whatever oil you prefer, KTM does recommend, of course, the MoterEx. So I'm gonna run that. That's what we run in all of our KTM bikes. You're gonna need a measuring cup to measure out that oil. You're gonna need a catch pan of some sort to catch that oil and dispose of it. We like to burn that oil in our smudge pot. And then of course you're gonna need a funnel for putting the oil into the bike. So let's get started. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start the bike up, warm it up, and get that oil a little thinner. The oil gets really thick when it's cold, and so I'm gonna warm it up. I will be honest, I don't do this every single time, especially if we were running the bike all day, like at a practice, and we had a race the next day. The oil's thinned out pretty good after a practice day, but the bike hasn't been rode in a couple days, and it's a little cooler right now, so I'm definitely gonna warm it up and just get that oil nice and thin so that we can get it all out. So we got the bike all warmed up, the oil all heated up, so it's gonna be nice and thin. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the filler cap off. The filler cap, with it removed, will help that oil come out a lot quicker and a lot faster because it gets the air back in there and pushes it out. All right, we're gonna get right in here and take our 13mm, put it right there on the drain plug, which is on the left side of the bike. And now I do have a stand that does have a hole in the bottom of it, so it makes it nice for draining it out. So we're gonna let that drain right there and get all the oil out. Now, you will notice on your drain plug, it does have a magnet on it, so you will see a lot of metal and debris on there. That is normal. Like I said, the clutch and 2 strokes, they have a lot of wear in the motor, so you're gonna get a lot of that debris on there. That is normal. It's nice and black. We're gonna get it all nice and cleaned off and before we put it back in. You'll also see on that is that crush washer right there. So we're gonna keep this one on. This one hasn't been on for that long, so we'll keep that on. Just get this all nice and cleaned up. I don't use any Loctite or anything on this just because it is coming off quite a bit. So we'll just get it all nice and cleaned up, and the bike is still draining. One thing I do is while it's draining, I see some guys put the triangle stand on it, lean it over and let it drain. I usually just pull it over, let it drain that way. All right, we got all the oil out of it, so we're gonna get the drain plug back in it. All right, it's time to do the oil. We got the oil all drained out, and so like I mentioned earlier, I run the MoterEx ATF. That's what they recommend. I know some people run the gear oil, but I just like to go by what they recommend. So we're gonna put in 200 milliliters or 200 cc, 200 cubic centimeters on your measuring cup, which pretty standard measuring cup, almost everybody runs this. 200 cc, cubic centimeters. Now, I do know that some guys run a little more This is what the book recommends, is the 200. I believe the factory edition runs a little bit more, but I just go by what the book says and I run the 200 in it. Right there, we got right at 200 cc. We're gonna go ahead and get our funnel and dump it in. Now you do wanna do this kind of slow because you don't wanna overflow the filler. So you just kind of slowly dump it in there. If you want to try and get it all, you can kind of stack it up there like that, let it drip all into there. The filler cap O-ring is what I was talking about earlier. You want to maybe change this every once in a while because it does get crushed. I actually just changed this on the last ride. Just need a little pick tool and you can pick it out, and you can get a nice O-ring kit right on Amazon. Really handy to have. Grab one of those. I didn't realize how much I would use one of those till I had one, because I started looking at O-rings a little closer, and I replace O-rings a lot more now. So make sure your cap is nice and clean. I'm gonna take and just kind of clean off. A lot of times there's some debris and dirt around that oil cap, and we'll get the oil cap back on, and your kid's back out riding, and you're ready to rip.